My name is Savannah Levi, and I'm 38 years old. The room was buzzing with laughter and the clinking of glasses, a typical Levi family reunion, full of warmth and the smell of rosemary chicken wafting from the kitchen. These gatherings were a treasured tradition, and despite the noise and chaos, I always felt a sense of belonging. But that night, beneath the hum of jovial chatter, a different kind of tension simmered. I glanced across the room and met the cool, calculating eyes of my cousin, Max Levi. Max, with his crisp suit and the air of someone who always got what he wanted, sauntered over with a smirk that could curdle milk. "How's that little arts and crafts project of yours, Savannah?" Max's voice dripped with condescension. "Your Etsy shop, right? Must be nice to have a hobby." I bit back the retort burning on my tongue. Etsy was more than a hobby. It was my lifeline, my escape from the corporate rat race. But Max had always dismissed it as trivial, something to be mocked. His words clawed at the insecurities I'd fought to bury. He was always the golden child, the family success story, while I was the dreamer, the one who dared to step off the beaten path. The evening dragged on, each of Max's snide remarks a dagger twisting in my side. By the end of the night, I was seething, my mind a whirlwind of anger and determination. Max had crossed a line, and I wasn't about to let it go unchallenged. As I drove home, my mind raced with possibilities. Max had always played dirty, using his influence and charm to get ahead. If I wanted to fight back, I'd need to do the same, but smarter, subtler. I imagined his smug face, and the fiery resolve within me ignited. I'd show him what a hobby could do. The first strike came unexpectedly. A week later, as I pored over orders in my home office, an email notification pinged. It was from a supplier explaining that a large shipment of materials had been canceled due to non-payment. My heart sank. I'd been meticulous about my finances. It took only a few phone calls to uncover the truth. Someone had impersonated me, instructing the supplier to cancel my orders. Max. Who else had the motive and the means? I leaned back in my chair, breathing deeply to quell the rising tide of panic. Max thought he'd thrown me off course, but this was just the opening salvo. I wouldn't let it end here. My mind sharpened, strategizing my next move. First, I secured my accounts with layers of security, ensuring no one could tamper with them again. Then, I reached out to my network of small business owners, gathering testimonials and compiling evidence of Max's interference. I needed a shield, something to hold up against his plausible deniability. The following week, I launched a campaign on social media, promoting a new collection inspired by overcoming adversity. It caught fire, resonating with fellow entrepreneurs and gaining traction beyond my expectations. Max's sabotage had unwittingly fueled my success, and my sales skyrocketed. But Max wasn't done. At the next family dinner, he played his next card. As we gathered around the table, he began sowing seeds of doubt among our relatives, questioning my work ethic and implying that my success was built on shady practices. He painted me as an unreliable dreamer, someone whose endeavors were bound to crash and burn. I listened, fury simmering beneath my skin as I dissected his attack. Max was trying to isolate me, to turn the family against me. But two could play at that game. I understood the power of narrative, and I knew how to turn it to my favor. The following morning, I called a family meeting. My presentation was meticulously planned, offering a glimpse into my world of creativity and hard work the late nights, the passion infusing each handmade piece. I shared stories of customers whose lives had been touched by my creations. Real people, real impact. As I spoke, I watched them closely, reading their expressions. Doubt flickered into curiosity, then admiration. The tide was turning, and Max could feel it. His jaw clenched, a flicker of unease crossing his face. But Max's final gambit came with a ferocity I hadn't anticipated. A week later, I received a cease and desist letter from a law firm accusing me of intellectual property theft, claiming I'd copied designs from a major brand. I knew instantly it was a trap one Max had meticulously set. Panic gnawed at my composure. I couldn't afford a legal battle. It would drain my resources, destroy my reputation. But I couldn't back down, not when the stakes were this high. I spent sleepless nights combing through every design, every sketch, looking for any angle, any flaw in his claim. And then I found it a watermark, barely visible, embedded in every one of my original files. A tiny digital signature that proved the designs were mine. Armed with this evidence, I called an emergency meeting with my lawyer and crafted a counteroffensive. I wouldn't just defend myself. I'd expose Max's deception for what it was, a desperate attempt to cripple my success. The climax unfolded at a Levi family reunion, the air thick with anticipation. I faced Max across the room, adrenaline coursing through my veins. With a calm I barely felt, I laid out my case, presenting the evidence with unshakable conviction. The room fell silent, all eyes on me as I connected the dots, exposing Max's schemes with ruthless clarity. Max's face blanched, his composure shattered. His attempts to interject were met with a chorus of disbelief and betrayal from our relatives. I had turned his own game against him, wielding his weapons with precision and leaving him nowhere to hide. In the final devastating blow, I revealed the endorsements I'd secured from influential figures and the partnership with a renowned brand that would take my business to unimaginable heights. I watched the realization dawn on Max's face, the recognition that he had not only failed to destroy me, but had fueled my ascent. I left the room amidst a flurry of congratulations, the echoes of Max's defeat ringing in my ears. As I stepped into the cool night air, I breathed deeply, savoring the freedom of vindication. Max may have laughed at my Etsy shop, but I was the one laughing now on my way to signing his paycheck, the ultimate victor in this brutal family saga.